think. Something seems to be missing from the process. I can't put my finger on it. Oh. Yep. That's what. Now it feels like we're almost live. Oh my gosh, Lewis.
It was going to happen.
I had to hear that twice because now I have the YouTube stream open. Boom! And we're live. Oh, man. Speaking of booms in the Jerry Seinfeld voice, I've been watching Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh, yeah?
I'm like almost about to finish season 2. That show is so funny. And do you remember before how I said like it's hard for me to watch stuff that I actually find funny? It's not something I'm proud of. I wish I laughed easier. Like when we're on this show, I laugh a lot. But you know, like that real, like uncontrollable, guttural, like that's hilarious laughter that you sometimes encounter when you watch like a comedy or something. Most comedy is absolute trash. Like I see comedy pop up on Netflix and I'm like absolutely cringing. I'm like, people are watching this for entertainment. Every once in a while you run into a comic that's actually good. Same with shows. There's so many shows that try to be funny and they just miss the mark. But Curb Your Enthusiasm, the earlier seasons, I think they're some of the best that there are. Like actual funny stuff that actually makes me laugh. It's so rare. The later seasons, not so sure about. I saw a couple episodes and I was like, ooh, not the same stuff. Not the same stuff. It's like when they canceled. Whoops, let me get this going here. Shout out to Betty Reyes. Shout out to Level Remix. We got Anth Towers here. We got Cliff Cothran here. He wants to know about AppleCare. Oh, we'll see. You never know with this show. Oh, God. What was the name of that show? Jason Bateman. Michael Cera. It's the show about the family.
Arrested Development.
Thank you. I always forget the name of that show. That show was so funny. And then they canceled it, and then Netflix brought it back. And when Netflix brought it back, it was like a skin suit. It was very weird. It was like
I started watching season 1, and I don't know. I didn't get it.
You didn't like it?
too much.
Okay.
I didn't find it terribly funny. I find like the narrator voice on it is just too overbearing. Like it just explains the joke before it even happens, and that just like kills it for me.
I mean, it's not for everyone. I think that's kind of true of everyone's, funny bone.
But I do like watching Michael Cera because he's just fantastic.
He was one of the best parts of that
and
show.
everything.
I think that show like launched him. So, but when Netflix brought it back, wasn't the same. I've also like I think I mentioned this before. I've been watching What We Do in the Shadows, and although I sit there like amused, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like, oh, that's mildly funny. I never have actually laughed. Actually, that's not true. I think there was one scene where I actually laughed. It's a curse. I'm cursed.
Have you ever seen the canceled WWDC promotional video starring Larry David?
No, that's a thing.
This is like a video that Apple commissioned. It was going to be like one of their WWDC like joke intro videos, starring Larry David as like the guy running the App Store, and I guess they like produced and edited this entire thing, and it leaked out eventually. Like you can find it somewhere on YouTube. I might be able to send you a link or post it in the cult.
Yeah, I'd never even heard of it. That's really
you
funny.
Watch it, and it's like, how did they even greenlight this? It's like the most tone deaf. It's funny, but it's like the most tone deaf way possible, because it's like, yeah, you know how you can spend months and months developing an app and getting these like spats with Apple for seemingly no reason whatsoever. Yeah, let's make fun of that. The thing that like can make or break your entire career.
There were a few commercials with the like Why I Switched, and there was one with Will Ferrell. I don't know if you guys saw it. Like I was like, this is actually kind of inappropriate, which is not something Apple really ever does, at least not anymore. There's a few ads that are floating around out there that's like, oh, I can't believe Apple made this. All right, look. We got enough people here to start, I think. I don't know how many people are going to care about Apple's robotic arm, but we've got some stuff to show you here. And you know what? If you don't care now, you will, because this is going to be living in your living room. You're going to spend the money. You're going to spend the $2,000 for the iPad on the robotic arm. Don't try to convince yourself that you're not. As soon as you see it, you'll be pre-ordering, and you'll probably be spending the extra $500, to increase the RAM, even though why does a robot arm need RAM? Doesn't matter. You're going to spend the money anyway. More fluid movements of the actual robot arm. It doesn't matter. We know you're going to spend it, so just stay tuned. let's see here. I think we're ready to go. Should we just get this thing rolling and just jump right into it? I got to be walking these sweet yet muscular buns out the door in 70 minutes. So let me cue up Mrs. You-Know-Who. We'll get this thing rolling. Oh, Mrs. D. Wow. This is exciting to see you. Oh, I certainly am, my dear. Was someone talking about robot arms? Yes. I can't wait to hear what she does with this. Oh, I was wrapping my arms around El Kenny's nude body last night. Great. That's like so loosely connected. I mean, it's like not even close, really, if you think about it. It's a stretch. Mrs. D, please. We knew it was going to go somewhere gross. And if you don't mind, we'd like to get this thing rolling and talk about some actual Apple news. I'll get the music queued up. And we'll begin in 3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome to the CultCast, the best 30 plus minute Apple conversation you're going to hear all week long. I'm your host, Erfon. Glad to join me today to keep writers productive and to reduce potential turnover, aka escapes. He's been exploring moving the Cult of Mac office to one of the unused buildings on Alcatraz. He's the managing editor of Cult of Mac. Lewis Walls is here.
It's a little chilly out there during the
Hard to escape those waters, though.
Spring and fall.
Also with us, he's considering moving to an even more remote location, maybe a cave in Patagonia or a tent on a mountain ridge. Anywhere that makes it harder for Lewis Walls to find him. He is a writer for Cult of Mac, a writer, not the writer, but a writer. Griffin Jones is here.
Actually, on the note of reducing turnover, we have an exciting announcement regarding members of the Cult Club, our loyal supporters.
Yeah.
There has been an issue ever since we relaunched it regarding
plaguing us.
People getting kicked out of the Discord
group.
We believe we have fixed the issue. We figured it out.
Famous
I think it was
last
like
words.
the link that we were providing people wasn't giving them like a permanent invitation into the group, and so they would keep getting kicked out. But now, if you support thecultcast.com or go to 9to5Mac, cult9to5macrumors.com and support us, then you can get your permanent invitation to the Cult Club.
Yeah, I hope it's that simple. We were having an absolutely bizarre problem. I could not figure out how to fix it, and I think that we dialed it out, but we'll see. And shout out to Intuit Tom from the very exclusive Cult Club. He's in there chatting away. We got Anth. Who else we got in here? We got Teddy. We got, D. Griffin Jones. How come all these names are like hidden from me? I'm an admin. Shouldn't I be able to see all these? We've been having a great conversation about the iPod socks, if you know what those are. In fact, Anth broke out his iPod sock. Look at all that pilling that's going on that iPod sock. That's how you know that thing's legitimate. That thing's been around a while.
I think the reason that all these problems are happening is because there's no tweet.
Oh, well, I can fix that if you're ready for it. Here it comes. Let's go! That's a good one right there. Look at that. We need to change our image, man. That image is not helping us. No one's clicking for that image. That much is true. If they read the text, they're coming in, but we got to do something about that image. All right, what do we got on the docket for you all today? Oh, my goodness, so much. Well, as the name implies of the episode, I think we got our first glimpse of Apple's weird iPad-on-a-moving robot arm thing that we've talked about before. We've got some video to show you. We'll describe it too. I think this is probably a precursor to the product that we're going to get, and it comes from Apple researchers. I think they accidentally gave us a glimpse that they weren't maybe expecting us to get. Also, we got the M5 chips in production. Quick update on that and when you might expect new M5 Macs and other M5 Apple products. We're going to talk about the new Apple Invites app, which I haven't even touched. Griffin's going to tell us about that. Who saw that? Who had that on their bingo card? Apple releasing a freaking invitation app.
Gurman printed the bingo cards.
Did he? Oh. And of course, he gets 100% every single time. Lewis is going to tell us about an iPad case that takes your secrets to the grave. I don't know what this means. Okay. I'm going to talk about my 2-week review with the 14-inch M4 Max MacBook Pro and the 13-inch iPad Pro, both space black. Lewis asked me if I had any thoughts. Oh, I got thoughts. and I'm not sure I'm keeping both of these devices, to be honest with you. Yeah, we'll talk more about it. You guys are probably gonna love.
The plot thickens.
Love this. And then, if we have time, I think we will. Griffin's gonna wrap up with an all-new under review. Oh, this is kind of a curveball here. Looking at what you're gonna talk about, huh? That'll be interesting. It's a RGB keyboard, dude. I love RGB. I love RGB. Okay, before we dive in, want to thank Squarespace for supporting this episode. Do I have the notes up? Oh, thank God. Squarespace.com/CultCast. You have heard me talk about Squarespace for ages and ages and ages. I absolutely love it. I pay for it every single month, and I use it for cultcloth.co. Once you get the website up, which is so simple to do, they have all these SEO tools built in, and you don't even really notice that they're there. Squarespace just does everything, and then when you Google yourself or your site, it's like stuff just shows up there. And it's like, how did that happen? I didn't do any work. Because of all the work that Squarespace does under the hood, they make your site look great on any device that visits, which is also magical. They have this thing called Squarespace Blueprints. It's a series of professionally curated layouts and styling options that will help you build your website super easy to use. And within no time, you will have a website optimized for every device, tailored for your brand or business, and it's super easy to get it up and running quickly. Also, you can sell anything, physical products, digital products. You can create a calendar where people can book your time. You can create a membership website. They have just got so much stuff built into Squarespace, and they have flexible payment options available to you. You can accept credit cards, PayPal, Apple Pay, and in eligible countries, buy now, pay later, Afterpay, ClearPay, just all sorts of stuff. If you have been tinkering with the idea of starting a website, you know what to do. Head to squarespace.com/cultcast, squarespace.com/cultcast for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Use code cultcast at checkout when you decide to make your purchase, which you don't have to do right away. You can do the trial without giving them your credit card information. And you'll get 10% off your first purchase when you use code cultcast at checkout, squarespace.com/cultcast. Let's dive right in. Let's take a look at this weird, wacky desktop robot that Apple Research unveiled this week. Look at that thing. Now, what does that remind you of, Lewis? You're going to say it.
Yeah, everybody says it. Luxo Jr.
Yeah, it's the Pixar lamp. It is, and we'll include this in the show notes, obviously, if you want to check it out. There's a researcher who is basically interacting with what looks to be the lamp from Pixar. You know, that lamp that jumps out and lands on the eye. It is that thing, man. And she's like using hand motions to control its behavior. It looks animated and lifelike and whimsical. It's really cool. And she's like using hand motions to point it towards the things she wants to be illuminated. She has a book, and it's like following the book around as she moves it. And I mean, this coming from Apple Research, I'm like, dude, this is it. This is the technology they're probably going to be using for that Apple iPad on a stick thing that we've all kind of chuckled about. And of course, you know, we poke a little fun, but like when Apple actually reveals it, we're all going to buy it no matter how much it costs. And now that I see it in motion, I'm like, yeah, this is actually pretty cool. Now, I will also caveat with, I still don't know if I would want an iPad that interacts with me in this fashion. Like, why would I want this? Except for a FaceTime call, right? Which would actually be useful. Like something that followed you around when you were doing like, you know, FaceTime conferences or something. But aside from that, I can't think really of any other use cases, but seeing it in motion looks pretty cool. What do you think, Lewis?
I mean, yeah, when I saw that, I'm like, oh, that starts to make sense, all these rumors. I mean, I never imagined something so sort of flexible and, I don't know, just interesting, right? I mean, I thought of literally just like an arm that moves around at a set angle or something, you know. But yeah, it's still hard to figure out. Like, what do you really want an iPad that spins around? And I mean, I don't know. I just don't get it. Like, what do you say? Say, hey, you know, bring the iPad to me. I mean, is it too hard to have an iPad that you would physically move on your own?
Yeah. Like the thesis of the research is that this isn't just like a robot that can do these things. Anybody can program a robot that can nudge a glass of water over to you, or point something at a table. Like, the thesis of the research is that they add they make the robot do extra work to make it seem more emotive and more human.
Yeah.
Like, you tell it, it asks a question, like, she's planning a hike, and then the robot asks her, for no other reason than because it's fun and silly, "Oh, can I come on the hike with you?" And then she says no, and then it like turns its like little lamp head down and shakes its head like in sadness, like it's disappointed. Like, it's just fun. And yeah, your iPad probably won't have like a lamp on it that can illuminate a book, or maybe it will, maybe it won't. At one point in the video, she's working on something like a 3D printer or something, and it turns against a wall and like laser projects like a tutorial video on her wall.
That sounds
iPad
awesome.
probably won't be able to do that, but the thing is, like, now that they have this software foundation that can make these robot arm things fun, they can apply that anywhere. Maybe an iPad won't be able to do these exact things, but it'll be able to do similar things in a cool, fun, engaging way. You ask it to play music, and it starts like shaking around like to the beat of the music,
Like
which
Billy
is like,
Bass. Sounds
Yeah.
great. Can't wait.
Dude, it's the Pixar lamp. They got to make this thing figure out how to bounce.
bounce
But
on a ball.
I think they should release the lamp. I mean, that actually sounds interesting. Like, hey, give me light here where I can see what I'm doing. I mean, that actually, I mean, it's not, again, who needs, how hard is it to position a lamp on your own? But it sounds kind of cool, to be honest. And like, didn't they? I didn't actually get to watch the video, but didn't they say that it like could do things like set the lighting properly so that your photo looks good?
Yeah. I mean, it's not hard to move a lamp, but it's hard to move a lamp without touching it, and that's what this can do, because you can wave it around and it'll follow your directions.
Yeah, and I mean, if you, I mean, shoot, you could use it for like lighting effects in videos. Like, who knows? The lamp actually sounds cooler than an iPad on one of these things.
I know there is
to be honest.
something that is really whimsical and playful about this lamp. Like, it really just looks like a real life Pixar lamp, which is cool. Like there's a sense of playfulness and fun when you see that little Pixar lamp jump into the scene and smash the eye, and it's like, and here it is. And the realistic playfulness that they have designed in this thing it's so subtle, but it brings this device to life in a way that's really magical. This is like a Disney prop almost. And this is the thing that Apple just does, Scott. I don't mean to sound too fanboy, but this is the thing that Apple does better than anyone else. It's like that polish. I would say Disney does this too, to a certain degree. But it's that polish that takes it from being oh, that's cool, to a, wow, like it takes it into a realm that makes it feel like it's come alive in a way, which I think would make me want to actually own something like this. Like, even if they did just release the lamp, I would be curious to own something like that. If they put a computer on the edge of this, or on the end of the arm, like maybe they could put a face on it that you can interact with, and like the face, in addition to the playfulness, would really make it seem like an actual AI computer companion, until you realize it's Siri and it doesn't understand the thing that you say.
Like, think about the original version of Siri. Yeah, it was kind of useless and did even less than it does now, but like, everybody was having so much fun with it because Apple programmed in like a bunch of jokes and like little things you can ask it, and like, you hear from somebody that like, oh, you should ask Siri this on your phone, and then you try it out, and then it does like a fun little weird unexpected thing, and then you turn to your friend and say to them, hey, ask Siri, Scaramouche, can you do the Fandango? And then Siri will just start singing Bohemian Rhapsody, like fun stuff like that. It adds a human touch that masks over the kind of mediocre technology behind it.
Yeah. I think that human touch really, that's it, man. It's like it adds a sense of humanism to these things that makes them fun to have around, even if maybe they don't have a super clear use case. It's like this thing. It's like, okay, what am I going to do with this thing? I don't even know. But for some reason, I still kind of want it. In any case, we'll put a link in the show notes if you haven't seen this, and you can check it out. But I think this is it, man. I think this is our first glimpse into what Apple's going to do with that screen. And now I'm a little bit more intrigued and maybe even a little bit excited to see what we have in store for us from a iPad on a stick, a moving iPad on a stick. You look like you were about to say something, Griffin.
Maybe this is an intentional move. Like they made this research public because, a lot of podcasters like us have been talking about the iPad on a stick as that's completely pointless. What is the purpose of this product? And then they just give us like a little taste, a little glimpse
Yeah.
of what it could be like, just to assuade the exact people like us. Like we are the target audience for this.
God, it must be cool to work in Apple research. I mean, getting to see stuff like this. I mean, who knows what else they're working on, And they have like unlimited money, the best equipment in the world, probably the best researchers in the world all work there. And who knows what else they're, cooking up. All right. Anyway, let's talk about, are you doing the next two stories? Nice. I get just kickback. Send it over to Griffin to talk about M5, which is horribly depressing to me, but we should do it nonetheless.
Apple's next generation M5 chip is already in mass production. The 2025 generation of Apple Silicon is right on schedule. Quote, Apple has started mass production of the next generation semiconductor chip M5, reports AT News. Another quote, it is understood that Apple has introduced new process technology to enhance artificial intelligence performance, according to a machine translation, because this report was, I believe, originally in Korean or something. While no official announcement has been made, previous unconfirmed reports indicate that the M5 is made with a third generation of TSMC's 3nm process, dubbed M3P. This is not as advanced as the future 2nm process, so the improvement of the M5 is going to be kind of modest. They're saying a 5% increase in performance and a 5 to 10% improvement in power efficiency. Not a big leap. I mean, this is the M4, huge leap forward, but then we're going to get, M5. It's another minor refinement. Last year, as you may recall, the M4 chip debuted months before anybody else expected in the iPad Pro, kind of by surprise. The Apple M5, now that it's in mass production, Apple could pull the same trick again. There is a slew of products that Apple is rumored to debut in the next few months. Although there have been reports of a new MacBook Air coming, and I think speculation has said that this new MacBook Air is going to be an M4. It's possible that the MacBook Air could debut the M5 if it's already in mass production. That's a possibility. I don't see a lot of people talking about it, maybe because it's a foolish theory, but wouldn't that be interesting? I mean, they surprised us last year with the iPad. It got the M4 when everybody thought it was only going to be an M3. They could do it again.
Yeah, as somebody who just bought two M4 devices, I'm like, and it's only because I bought them so late into the process or into the release. I like, especially with the iPad Pro. I don't think I thought about this, funny enough, when I bought my iPad Pro, but I was like, oh, this has been out for 8 months. It's like really kind of past mid-life cycle at this point, and we'll probably get another one before the end of the year, which
mid-life cycle.
Yeah. It's like
I don't know about that. I mean, Apple doesn't actually rev the iPad Pro very often.
Yeah.
And the other thing to consider is like you buy a MacBook Pro, Apple isn't going. I mean, the one anomaly where they released a MacBook Pro like 9 months after the previous one was when like the one before that was delayed by a few months.
Yeah.
So like they're not going to come out with new MacBook Pros until like next October or November. You're still getting a great life out of your M4 MacBook Pro.
Yeah, the MacBook Pro I'm not so bummed about because I think that one's still pretty new. I mean, they only released it like a few months ago. But the iPad Pro has been out for a while. I mean, I think it's been 8 or 9 months. And I always check out like the Mac Rumors buying guide, and I was like, oh shoot, like I don't think I considered this when I bought it. I was like, I could potentially wait until the end of the year and get like the M5 iPad Pro. Now, does that matter? Probably not, because nothing that I'm going to do on the iPad Pro is going to get anywhere close to even getting that M4 to break a sweat, right? Which will tie into my thoughts on the M4 iPad Pro 13-inch that I bought when I talk about that later in the show. But it always just gives me massive FOMO. I'm like, oh man, just bought these, and now we're talking about M5 entering mass production. Like if I wanted to, I could have just waited until the end of the year. But
yeah, you're really going to notice that 5% increase in speed when you're streaming Netflix in bed.
Yeah, well, and also with the MacBook Pro especially, it's like I don't really want the next generation MacBook Pro. Like I'm waiting for the OLED after this. And the M4 version is so good, man. It's just so good. Oh my gosh. But anyway, we just wanted to give you all a heads up, especially because we're expecting that like there will be a new iPad Pro probably later to maybe early next year, new MacBook Pros probably later this year, MacBook Air, and maybe even the Apple Vision Pro this year or early next year, which that could be a big update, man. If they give it a lot faster, more powerful processing, like it might actually make the Vision Pro a lot better, and maybe it will make the fidelity of the screens better because it can just handle more processing of, like the moving imagery and the video and stuff. But we'll have to wait and see. Should we talk real quickly about the new Apple Invites app, Griffin? I'm not sure how excited people are for this. I don't even really know what this thing does. I haven't even looked at it, to be honest with you, so this would be my first glimpse into it as well. I kind of saw this story pop up this week, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I'm like, I don't really send invites that often, but, it's something that exists now.
Yeah, so on Tuesday, Apple unveiled Invites, an app that lets users share invitations and RSVP to events. Invited guests can add to a shared photo album and even contribute to a music playlist if you're all on Apple Music. So, suppose your birthday is coming up and you want your friends and family to visit, you can text and call and email all of them to keep them all updated, but that's kind of a hassle. Apple Invites is there to manage it all. You can add a cover image to your invitation. Apple has like a bunch of stock images and stuff that you can add, but you can also create one using Image Playground.
I was just going to say, that looks like Image Playground right there.
It has a button where you can just built-in Image Playground API right there.
Yeah.
You can add in the date, time, location. There are really a lot of options on how you want to manage the guest list. Like you can enable people give them the ability to bring a +1 or a +2 or not. Create a shared photo album that people can contribute to. Create a collaborative music playlist that anybody can add their music to. Guests can view and respond to the invitation from the Invites app for iPhone, but they're actually not required to have an Apple device.
Okay, that was going to be one of my big questions.
You can use this to invite people who don't even have an Apple account.
Okay.
You can invite them by email address, and they can just RSVP on the web, and they'll get all their notifications in their email inbox. It's free to download, and if you want to start event planning and send your invitation, you need to have an iCloud Plus or Apple One subscription, but it's free for everybody else to use once you create your invitation and send it out.
Wait, sorry. Say that last part about iCloud Plus again. What do you need that for?
In order to start an event or create an invitation, you need to pay for iCloud Plus or Apple One at any tier.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, everybody else you invite can freeload off of it.
Yeah,
it's kind of interesting. I'm gonna have a full how-to about this pretty soon on the website, probably this weekend or something. But it's really neat. They've really thought a lot of it through. And when I used to host a lot of social events and parties when I still lived in Athens before all my friends moved away, I would make an invitation by hand in Pixelmator Pro, just as a single PNG image and send around to people. But that's a giant hassle. This solves that for you. It can do a lot of the management. As the event planner, there's a button you can press to just send a notification to everybody all at once with additional information.
Wow.
Hey, we got the stomach virus. Party's canceled.
Yeah.
This actually sounds awesome. I mean, it reminds me of the good old days when everybody said Evites, Remember Evite?
Oh, yeah.
Which all those services have gotten just larded up with garbage and
oh yeah, larded up big time.
Terrible.
Yeah.
And it's email, which honestly, how reliable is email these days? I mean, it just seems like everybody sends text messages. So what I didn't get from this is how do you receive it? Do you receive what if you don't have the app on your phone?
You just receive it. There's a bunch of ways you can send it to people. It sends as a rich link that you can open from iMessage or your email address.
And it just opens it on the web?
And it opens it on the web by default. But if you have the app installed, it'll open it in the app and you get a slightly nicer experience because you don't have to sign in or whatever. But it's really nice. I've been trying it out. They've really thought a lot of it through. I think and you're right, there are existing free web services for this, but they're all absolute garbage. I think like the only two obvious features it's missing that they'll probably add in iOS 19 or something like that. There's no collaboration, so you and your partner can't plan a party together. Like one of you has to be in control, so to speak. And there's also no like group voting or like Secret Santa or like gift exchange management controls or stuff like that. Like most of the time when I'm being sent a thing that I need to sign up for on the web and
like actually, Kim, this is such a great idea because the ecosystem of like invites is so fractured, right? I mean, there's all these sites that you can use, and to Lewis's commentary, they're all larded up with all sorts of garbage and ads, and you got to use email, which good luck sending me an email. And this is so simple to use, and it's like beautifully designed. It's got a lot of really cool little touches in it, like the weather that you mentioned, like the location of the place.
Yeah, the map just built right in.
And
the fact that you can like create an album to share
you can add
images.
the address.
Uh-huh.
Oh, sorry.
No,
When you're
go
putting
ahead.
together when you're putting together the invitation and you can like type in the location, you also have an additional line of text that you can just add whatever you want, like, oh, the parking lot, or oh, park over here, or like, oh, yeah, it's at this park, but like, oh, but go to the picnic tables by the lake, or oh, this is at Griffin's house at this address. Like little touches like that make it really nice.
And the fact that like people could add pictures to an album afterwards just to kind of give you some more pictures of a specific event. I wonder how those integrate with like the Photos app. They must get sent in like as an album type or like a shared album or something. Okay.
It just creates a shared album right in your Photos
Pretty
app.
cool, man. Yeah. I got to
neat.
say, this is one of the coolest apps that Apple has made in a while. I got to play around with it some more. But like my daughter's birthday party is coming up this weekend, and we had to send out invites, of course. And it's like you send people emails, and they just never respond. And like to be able to communicate with people via an app like this and to kind of modernize the whole like invitation process and systems is not something I ever would have guessed Apple would have done, but it would have been super useful for the birthday party. Wrangling people
you
for
have, like,
parties is always
10
a lot of
kids.
work.
I mean, another one's coming up, right?
Well, that was last week. I got 14 now. Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah. So we have several birthday parties. My goal is to have a birthday party at least once a week, for all 52 weeks. So we're working on that.
Good grief.
Yeah. But
So I'm a little scared that this app is going to go the way of like music memos or clips.
You say clips. Oh
journal.
my God.
I mean,
pin.
they come up with these fun little side projects, and if they don't take off, they get killed within like a few years. Or worse, they stick around, but they're ignored and they don't get any software updates. So it's really nice. Everybody, please use this app
I can see that
so that
happening
it doesn't
with this app.
die.
How easy would it be if you needed to send like invites to like 100 people? Can you add a email list or phone? I mean,
I don't think you can like import a CSV of contacts, but that would be handy. I mean, you can just, for that, I would just create like a public link and just, send it to people in an automated way. You can send like personal private invitations that creates like specific links for individual people if you want to be really selective about it, or you can send a public link. And even if you send a public link, there's still a feature you can check where you have to like manually approve guests as they sign on. Like it's really thorough.
Yeah. Every time I see my contacts list, because it's asking me if I want to pull people in for my contacts list right now, and I'm like, I have 454 people in there. I'm like, I don't know who half these people are. Do you guys have that problem? I'll go through my contacts list, and I'm like, who are these people? I don't remember how I know them. My contacts list is a graveyard of broken relationships, people that I met once at like an event and never spoke to again, and I can never remember their names. And I'm getting so old now that like when I see people that I used to know when I was younger, like people that I went to high school with, for instance, like I'll recognize their face, but I'm like so far removed from that era of my life that when I see them, I'm like, I know that I know you, but I actually have no idea what your name is. There's this girl that I saw in my daughter's gymnastics. I walked in and I was like, I definitely went to high school with that girl. And I about-faced and walked right out. I was like, I am not trying to have a conversation with this person that I used to know from high school. I'm not even sure I remember her name anymore. It's going to be way too awkward. I am out of here. And that's my contacts list now. I'm like, this kind of makes me want to like go through and like audit my contacts and get rid of people I don't know.
The contacts app does have a notes field where you can like type in notes on each individual contact.
Oh.
I make heavy use of that.
Yeah. Oh, in the contacts app. Yeah. I try to now. I so rarely add new contacts now. You know, when I was young and like going all these different places, that was more common. Anyway, okay, this is called Apple Invites. It's available in the App Store. It's got 4 stars right now. I guess some people are hating on it for some bizarre reason. But go use it.
Totally free as long as you pay.
Yeah, that's right. Right. Just another reason to get iCloud Plus. It's only 99 cents a month. It's like, you know, you get your first hit free. And before you know it, you're spending $20 a month, you know, on Apple services. Which, you know, it's funny. We cut this AppleCare Plus story because they're raising their prices just slightly on it was just iPhones, right, Griffin? And
iPhones in the United States, and they're also removing the ability to like prepay for a year or two in stores. So they're pushing the subscriptions more, stuff like that.
Yes, and that was the part of the story. So we cut it, but I thought this one part was interesting. I was like, oh, they're cutting like the prepayment up front unless you order from Apple online. If you go in store, they won't sell you that. And just, you know, speculatively, are they thinking about getting rid of like the pay up front option because that discounts AppleCare Plus, right? And if you pay them month over month, they're just collecting way more from you on a yearly basis. And I'm like, dude, I'm just so tired of all these little things that Apple's trying to, you know, tweak your nips for to get a little bit of juice out of them. It's like just one payment after another, and this is yet another thing that's like, oh, I'm paying for iCloud Plus, and now I'm also going to be paying for AppleCare Plus, which maybe a lot of people actually tell me, chat, are you paying for AppleCare Plus? And if you are you paying monthly? Because I would just pay for it up front and just get it over with because it's so much cheaper when you do it that way. But I just hate having all these monthly.
Next, tell us how much you like your products after spending $4,000.
Oh wait, I think we're actually Let's move your iPad story to the end here, Lewis. Because I think that might be the most fun one. Okay, cool. You guys want to talk about my 14-inch MacBook Pro, 13-inch iPad Pro? I've had them for 2 weeks now. And
are you past the 2-week window?
No, I'm not.
I
have until this Saturday.
Okay.
The decision to buy both these devices was agonizing. The decision to keep both of these devices has been agonizing. Let's talk about the 14-inch MacBook Pro first. I agonized and scrutinized over every configuration of the MacBook Pro, and I will say, all the things I configured it with, hands down, extremely satisfied. I love the size of the computer. People complained that it got hot and the fans were always coming on. My fans have never come on. Now, I haven't been pushing it that hard. I love the nano texture display. I love the 2 terabytes of storage. I love the 4 efficiency cores over the M1 Max's 2 efficiency cores. I love everything about the computer. Having it be 3.5 pounds versus over 5 pounds is like a revelation. It's so much easier to pick up and carry. It's like an iPad. I mean, it's just so much easier to use and wield. You know, and the thing that I thought I would miss is like the extra screen real estate. And I almost don't even notice. Like, I really just don't think that I really needed to have the extra 2 inches of screen real estate. I mean, it's nice. Don't get me wrong. But I don't really notice that I don't have it. And the improvement in just, you know, in weight is so noticeable to me and so enjoyable to carry around that I'm just super happy with it. Now, I will say on the weight thing, what I think is kind of interesting, I'm showing like the wrong image, aren't I? The weight thing, what I've realized is the 16-inch MacBook Pro is actually a more comfortable computer for a lap. I like that it's heavier when it's sitting on my lap because it doesn't shift around as much. So I kind of like the 16-inch better for like using it in my lap. The 14-inch doesn't fit in my lap quite as well. So there is that, but it's not so annoying that I would think about returning it and getting the 16-inch. And the 16-inch, you know, is just so heavy. There is one thing that a couple things that I don't love about the 14-inch MacBook Pro, so much so that I actually am thinking about returning it. And let me grab it out, and I will illustrate what I mean. Where do I have it? It's right here. the stories of this thing being a fingerprint magnet are massively underreported. Can you guys see this? This thing is covered with fingerprints. Like so much so that anytime I touch it, it's just constantly marred with fingerprints. And the camera isn't even picking it up how noticeable these fingerprints are. I mean, I'll show it just to you flat out. And for those of you paying attention, it looks like a shiny car or a piece of glass, like your iPad or something that has been touched with fingers. And this is really bugging me. Now, yes.
A new one developing right under your thumb there.
Yes.
Live on the camera.
And as somebody who I would classify my hands as moderately moist, if you have dry hands, this may not be a problem for you. But,
Double M.
But my hands are moderately moist, I'd say most of the time. In fact, sometimes my wife doesn't want to hold my hand. She's like, your hand is sopping wet. I'm like, your hands are sopping wet.
Jeez.
But, I mean, look, I'll make one on the fly. Look at this. I'm going to just touch it right there. Look at that. Do you see those fingerprints that are left behind? That is really kind of bugging me. And yes, I have coat cloth everywhere, but I'm like, do I want to live a life where I have to wipe this thing down every single day? I'm not sure that I do. And the other thing I will say is, look at all the fingerprints on that side. Look at that. Dude, it's crazy. I mean, look, they're forming in real time. Look at that. The other thing is, I'm not sure I love this color. Now, I realize this is totally subjective, right? Some of you love the space black, and I thought I did too when I looked at it in the Apple Store. But what I realized is the Apple Store, the way it's lit, it makes this color look warmer than it actually is. Like the space gray is like a warmer shade of gray. This is such a niche thing to complain about. I don't like blue-based grays. I like yellow-based grays. And what I didn't realize in the Apple Store is this is a blue-based gray, which you can't tell because the lights in the Apple Store are warm. So it makes it look like a warm color gray, and then you get it home and you're like, oh, this is actually a blue-based gray. So it's like a gunmetal gray, and I just don't really love gunmetal gray. So I'm not sure I'm going to return it, but I am considering it for those two reasons. So nothing about the actual MacBook Pro itself and its operations or its configuration is a problem for me. I absolutely love this machine. I'm so happy I went with this size. But the color and the smudge factor, I'm not sure if it's something that I can live with. And so for that reason, I'm thinking about returning it and just getting the silver. Now, I don't love the silver either. I think the silver is rather blasé. But I don't know if I can live with this for the next 2 years. It's like just all the fingerprints all the time and the color, especially I'm in a very brightly lit room, so it looks more gray right now. In a dark space, this thing looks almost completely black, which I just don't love. That's the MacBook Pro. Okay. Let's talk about the iPad Pro.
Color problem.
Let me put this down.
I did warn you, silver is a safe bet, and it is, in my opinion, the quintessential Apple color.
Yeah, I think that's true, but I wanted to try something new, and like I said, I don't love the silver. I love the space gray. Like the space gray, I think is perfect, but unfortunately, that's not an option. Yeah.
What I think is interesting about the new MacBook Pro is that it's black around the outside, but then you look at like the keyboard well, like between the keys, and the black there is a little blacker than the rest of the black.
Do you think so? Yeah,
it's not actually the whole. It's not actually like maximum black all the way around.
Yeah. Oh, you mean the place where they put the actual keyboard?
Yeah.
Yes. That is true. The other thing is, like, this thing is such a chameleon. Like, I feel like it color shifts depending on the lighting that you're in, whereas the silver doesn't really do that.
Oh, it's just so pro.
Yeah, so I don't know.
You're not pro enough as you thought you were.
See, look, I'm looking at it on my desk right now. I'm like, oh, now that the gray doesn't really look bad. I still see all the fingerprints. But, maybe I could live with that. I don't know. But here, let's talk about the other thing I bought. This is the iPad Pro. I bought the 13-inch. I'm glad that I bought the 13-inch. But I'm gonna do something real fast. For those of you listening, just give me a moment. I'm gonna hold something up, and you won't be able to see it, but I'll describe this after I do. Here we have the 13. And here we have the 11. Look how much of a size difference there is between these two iPads. I'm trying to line them up just right. Look how much bigger the 13-inch. Can you guys hear me, by the way?
It really blocks the sound, too.
Okay. Let me try to do this.
It's kind of amazing.
No, this mic is very directional. So let me say that again. Here's the 11-inch. Here's the 13-inch. The 13-inch iPad does not seem like it's that much bigger than the 11-inch iPad. until you pick it up and until you use it. It is massive, man. It is a ginormous hunk of glass and metal. And in some situations, I actually really enjoy it. Like when I'm in my bed and I just have it propped up on my chest and I'm reading or whatever, I love having their extra screen real estate. But in virtually every other scenario, I'm like, this thing is really awkward to hold. And what I realized, and I wouldn't have known this until I bought it, is that there are not very many apps that have been optimized to take advantage of the extra screen real estate, except for some drawing apps. I think to draw with this thing is a dream. If you're an illustrator, I would 100% tell you to get this one if that's the main thing that you're going to be doing. But because of the extra size and the weight of the 13-inch, it kind of turns this into like a weird computer. Like it transcends it from being a tablet into like some kind of weird computer. And if you want a hybrid device that is part iPad, part computer, you're going to buy like the Magic Keyboard, then this thing makes a ton of sense. But that's not me. I don't want to have an extra computer. I bought a MacBook Pro. So like for me, this thing is an awkwardly sized tablet that is hard to hold, hard to wield, and the keyboard is you can't use it with two hands anymore. Like with the 11-inch, if I wanted to hold the actual iPad in two hands and like type with my thumbs, I could do that. You can't do this. You can't do that with this. And also, like the icons are weirdly spaced out. It's like a ginormous iPhone. Like the OS is not optimized for a screen this big. So there's like a lot of weird like visual anomalies. Anomalies is probably not the right word. Like it looks like this OS doesn't belong on this size of a screen.
Missed opportunities.
Like things are awkwardly spaced out. And it actually makes some apps harder to use. Like if you're using like the X app, like on the 11-inch, it's easy to scroll and read with one hand. But on this iPad, they added like an extra column on the right-hand side that like show you trending issues, which is hard to reach your thumb past, which means you have to use like two hands, like browse on the X app. So there's like weird anomalies in some apps. And so I'm pretty sure I'm going to return this and go with the 11-inch. And the main thing was I wanted to know how the experience was of like editing photos on this. But even the Photos app is not better on here. Like I actually think the Photos app is more focused and easier to use on the 11-inch iPad Pro because the Photos app is not really optimized to take advantage of a screen this size. I'm not explaining it very well, I don't feel like. But
I think what Apple wants you to do with the extra screen space is use multiple small apps in Stage Manager. They don't really expect or optimize the iPad OS experience for a single 13-inch screen, like App View.
Maybe that's true, but I never use Stage Manager. And so I just feel like I'm having a hard time interacting with this iPad because of the way you hold it. And like when you're holding it, right, it's like my thumbs can't really reach the keys because the keys expand over such a great expanse of the screen that I'm having to like shift my hands all around just to type stuff. So it's just kind of a weird and awkward experience. And as much as there are some scenarios where I really do love having the bigger screen, look at that. It's like
Look at all those
it's like a
fingerprints.
MacBook Pro on there. Space black MacBook Pro. I'm not finding that the screen is as much of a revelation, like the extra screen real estate, as I thought it was going to be. And actually, it's more of a hindrance to using the iPad than I thought it was going to be. And I'm not going to be drawing and editing photos on here so much that it's worth the extra size and weight. And it is significantly heavier. It doesn't seem like it would be on paper, but until you get it, you're like, this thing is kind of, a little bit more awkward and weird to hold. And then there's the extra price. It's $300 more. So I think for that reason, I tried it. I was hoping I was going to love it, but I'm thinking like at the very least, I'm going to return this and get the 11-inch iPad Pro because the 13, again, unless you're planning on getting like the smart keyboard and using this like as an actual laptop, I think that scenario makes a lot of sense. But you're kind of losing like the utility of a tablet in that scenario. It's like it's not very tablet-y at this size. So that's where I'm at. We'll see what I actually do. I have until Saturday to make my decisions.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm like, I, I'm trying to love it. I'm trying to love it. And sometimes I do love it. Like there are instances where I'm like, this is actually really great. Like, I'll probably stick with this. But there are more instances where I'm like, God, it's like handing someone who's never had a kid like a newborn baby. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this thing? You know, it's weird to hold. It keeps moving. You know, like it's like, where do I have to put my hand to support this thing? You know, like it feels awkward.
But you still have your 11-inch, and your 11-inch no longer feels small.
It does feel small. Yeah,
Oh.
it does feel small. Like I wish they made a 12-inch.
Oh,
I mean,
come on.
like holding
The 11-inch is the perfect size.
It is the perfect size for a lot of things, I have to say. And you know, the other thing that I thought I was going to love on 13 inches is like watching content. But I don't love it for some reason. And I think it's because the 13-inch is kind of hard to set down. Like with the 11-inch, I can always find a space for it, like on the counter or on some surface to watch stuff. And the 13-inch is so huge, it's kind of hard to find a place that will fit it. So I don't necessarily want to use it in random locations like I do with my 11-inch. Like when my iPhone's charging, I'll just carry my 11-inch around and I'll set it down on the counter or in the bathroom or something. In the bathroom's great. I have, like this little pedestal across from my toilet that I can set this thing down on when I'm taking care of business. You know, it's like you could watch.
You mean like doing taxes?
Yeah. Don't you do your taxes in the bathroom?
It's like a good place
and like
for
with a 13-inch, it's like so huge. I'm like, where do I put this thing? I can't really find a place where it's not going to just topple over. Is that TMI? I apologize.
I'm just saying. I don't have to find space for my Vision OS windows. They're just floating above me in the toilet.
Well, look,
floating above my kitchen sink.
Yeah,
Don't need
that does sound great. That does sound
I can
great.
be whatever size I want it to be.
God, so like
11,
now when I look at this screen,
13,
I'm like,
52.
yeah, that does sound nice, especially on the airplane. Now I'm looking at this screen on the 11-inch, and I'm like, see, now this looks small. Now this looks too small. But I think that I might be more of an 11-inch person than a 13-inch person. I really wanted to love it. I want to love it. I really do. But it's not as much of a revelation as I thought it was going to be. And I constantly find myself holding it awkwardly, and I haven't really developed like a comfortable relationship with the 13-inch iPad. Level Remix is saying that he thinks I need to try a different case. Do you think that's the problem? I have a magnet case for I have the folio case for the 13-inch as well. I don't know, chat. Let me know what you think. Am I doing something wrong? I don't know. But I know a lot of people have the 13-inch and they love it. And for some reason, I just can't get there. And I really wanted to get there, but that's not where I'm at. Next week, I'll update you guys on the decision I made. Like I said, I have until this Saturday to make my return decision. And I got to figure out what I'm going to do. And after that, I'm stuck with it. And part of me is like, you should just live with it. I should just live with it for the next, year or two. But the iPad thing especially, like the MacBook Pro, I'll update again probably in 2 or 3 years. The iPad I'm going to have for probably 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, man.
You know, it's like,
this isn't like a phone that you're going to want to get a new one no matter what. Live with the Pro Max for a year.
Right.
Just the other day, I picked up the phone and I'm like, I'm so glad I don't have a Pro Max right now. Even just the Pro is, borderline too big, bigger than it needs to be.
Every time I pick up an iPhone 10, I'm like, this maybe was the peak iPhone because it still had the smooth, tacky glass that didn't slide out of your hands. It was the perfect size. Like they've been inching bigger and bigger ever since the iPhone 10. The rounded corners actually nestle in the corner of your hand really well.
Just check this out. I'm showing this one more time. I have the 11-inch iPad over top the 13-inch iPad. Look how much extra iPad there is on the 13-inch. Again, it doesn't sound like a big difference in size, but when you show it like this, it's like, dude, it's huge. It is a giant slab of glass, which is so strange because, if you have a 13-inch MacBook Air, the screen doesn't seem like it's that big. In fact, to me, it seems like it's small. But then you take the keyboard off and you just hold the screen, and now all of a sudden it's just hard to hold, hard to use. Anyway, we got to move on because we got to be wrapping up here shortly. But you want to talk
do we
about?
Want to do that under review, or do we just want to skip to Lewis's story?
How long do you think you'll need to do it? 15 minutes?
Skip it.
You want to save it for next time? All right, let's save it for next week. We'll probably need something for next week. All right, Lewis, let's wrap up with your story, though. Then the The iPad case that lets you take your secrets to the grave.
That's just what
That's
you
what I
always wanted,
need.
man.
Yeah.
iPad case with a dead man switch. Perfect if you're like an international spy, happen to work for, Vladimir Putin or something.
Oh, you know what? Hold on a second. I almost forgot. Before we wrap up,
Whoa!
we got. Oh my gosh!
Oh my God! The X
forgot.
Factor.
I want to tell you guys about something else that I think you're gonna love, and that is Factor. Oh my goodness! I just love having Factor food in my house. I'm all out right now, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I
me
ate
too.
all my Factor food, and I'm hoping I'm gonna get some more because they're just delicious. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Factor Foods has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes, so you can fuel up and feel great no matter what life throws at you. I always say it's like having takeout in your fridge. These things literally take 2 minutes to heat up. They're never frozen, so the meats are still juicy. All the ingredients still taste super fresh. And they've got 40 different options of food across 8 dietary preferences on the menu every single week. It's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. I always do the Protein Plus, but I'm thinking about doing their keto option. I kind of want to do keto for like 10 weeks and just see how my body reacts to it. But they've got Protein Plus, Keto, Calorie Smart, and there's a bunch of different food choices. And they're just so tasty. And it's easy just to grab one and eat and be done and move on with your day. And everything tastes unique. All the recipes are good, and they taste unique from one another. So if you haven't tried it out, now is a great time to do it. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/cultcast50off. That's cultcast50 off. And use code cultcast50off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code cultcast50off at factormeals.com/cultcast50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. You know, food's expensive these days, and this is a really great deal. It makes the food super affordable, even if you just want to just try it and just see how you like it. That is factormeals.com/cultcast50off, and the code is cultcast50off. Okay. Lewis, you were saying.
Oh, back to me, huh?
Sure.
Yeah, the iPad case with a dead man switch. It's from Zugu Case. It's called the In Case of Death case.
Dude, I can bring this up. Where's the story? Let's see here. The In Case of Death case. Okay.
Comes with a smart ring that constantly measures your heart rate variability, respiration rate, blood oxygen levels, and body temperature. Excuse me. If the wearer's heartbeat stops suddenly and their body temperature and blood oxygen level also drop dramatically, the smart ring knows you're dead. Then it sends a signal to the case to brick the iPad.
Does it explode?
That's the only way this could be better, is it actually exploded. It does not explode. It comes with Hexnode mobile device management software that takes care of wiping the tablet. And Ed wrote this up for the site. It's pretty funny. He's like, is this a joke? Yes. Is it real? Also, yes. Zugu sells an M4 iPad Pro, probably an 11-inch, with the MDM software pre-installed, special edition case, the In Case of Death case, and the necessary smart ring for $1,500. Nice bundle there in case you're international spy. Just write it off, no problem. Let's see. Also comes with bonus features, and this is kind of hilarious. The Hexnode software can be set so that at the owner's death, the iPad plays a never-ending loop of Rick Astley to rickroll the survivors.
Now that makes it worth the price, just right there.
That is hilarious. So, and here's a quote from the Zugu founder, Tim Angel. He said, "The In Case of Death case is a funny, first-of-its-kind product that emphasizes Zugu's commitment to iPad protection in even the most extreme situation. Death."
That's about as extreme as it gets. Death. That's it.
I loved it. That's the second week in a row where we've seen some wacky products, man. I
kind of like these wacky cases. Yeah. I can see this
cool.
turning into a thing. Like the banana case was last week. This week is the Kill Switch iPad Pro case. I mean, I think the real question is, what do you have on your iPad that warrants it being self-destructed the moment that your heart stops?
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I love that idea, though, man. When I saw the press release, I mean, my first thought was like, oh my God, did I fall asleep? Is it like Rip Van Winkle time? Is it April already? April 1st? No, it's legit. They actually made it. But, what a great funny thing to come up with, and it showcases their cases, which are supposedly great. I still haven't tried one.
I've never used one before either. Yeah, but
they're really well reviewed, and
okay.
Anyway, I don't know.
Level Remix from the chat is saying Zugu case is what makes the difference for the larger size iPad. Just my 2 cents. Is there a specific Zugu case that you're referring to there, Level Remix?
That one. It's the In Case of Death one.
Yeah, maybe that one. Okay. Griffin, do you want to just crank through the under review? I mean, we've got like 10 minutes left.
Yeah, sure.
You want to do it?
I was thinking about it.
Okay, let's just do it.
Yeah. Okay, so I have for review an Asus Republic of Gamers gaming
Dude, that thing's tiny.
mechanical keyboard. It's a 60% layout, so it doesn't have the number keys or the function row.
Mm-hmm.
You have the arrow keys over here, and it's sort of, you get like home, page up, page down, delete, like on the most extreme right side, just has like, normal size keys grouped in with the rest of it. This is a 65% keyboard, which is I think one of my more favorite layouts because I don't need a number pad. I'm not an accountant.
Yeah. And it makes the
And I
keyboard
still like
so
having
much
the home
bigger.
page up, page down, but like it doesn't need to be a whole separate section. Let's see. It lights up. It has a bunch of like light up functions. I don't remember how to do it. Maybe I can work this out. Oh yeah. So it has a bunch of different patterns and stuff like that. You can have it like glowing and all that. And again, my office is pretty bright, so I don't know how well you'll be able to see it.
Oh, dude, I love the rainbow
video.
effect.
Yeah. I'm a Mac guy, so I think it's kind of distasteful and ugly. But nonetheless, the option is there if you still want it. It has a little switch on the back where you can switch between Mac mode or PC mode.
Oh, nice, dude.
Command, option, and control, stuff like that. It has 3 different ways you can connect to it. You can just, plug it in over USB-C, or you can use their like tiny USB-A dongle and just, communicate with it over RF, or you can use it over Bluetooth.
Okay.
And a neat little touch is that it has a little hole right there. Well, that's a little storage spot for the USB dongle.
Nice.
It like magnetically snaps in right there.
That's
You
nice.
take it out and plug it in. The feet on the bottom are like 2-stage, so you have a tiny foot if you want to elevate it a little bit, but then you also have a big foot if you want to
Bigfoot.
elevate it a little more.
Bigfoot sighting on CultCast. Wow.
Wouldn't have expected that.
Let's see. It's low profile. It's a mechanical keyboard, but the key switches aren't super clicky.
Yeah.
They're more like linear. So you just like press it down, and there's no like click action. It just like bottoms out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm not a fan of is that it registers the key click before the key like bottoms out and hits the bottom.
Oh.
So that means like if you have like kind of slippery fingers, maybe you aren't a super precise,
Moderately
typist,
moist
like-
hands. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I also have very damp hands, so my fingers slip around a lot. That's why I like keyboards that have like more exaggerated key shapes on them. But like I make more typos typing on this keyboard because my fingers slip and I nudge against keys that I don't mean to type on, and it adds extra letters. But
It's terrible.
it is low profile, so it's easy to game on stuff like that because your fingers have like less physical distance to cover. Now, although I would not use this keyboard every single day, what I do use this keyboard for is the podcast because it types incredibly quietly.
Yeah.
I can be pecking away at this thing on the podcast with my microphone like just inches away from it, and you won't hear it at all. It is like dead silent. That's what I like about it. So if you need a super quiet keyboard to talk about like on a conference call or a podcast, something like that, this is a great keyboard for it.
I don't
pretty
think there
nice.
have been a lot of keyboards that are RGB. I mean, especially from like the mainstream PC companies that make accessories that work with Mac. In fact, I don't know if there is another RGB keyboard that works wirelessly or with a dongle that is native for Mac as well. There might be. I haven't heard of it. I haven't heard of one though.
I just realized that it's not typing on my computer because I unplugged the USB dongle.
I'll do it.
Plug that back in.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's nice. It comes in I think white and maybe black, but they sent me the white one.
Dang,
It has
dude.
nice materials, like it's aluminum around the edge, all around the outside, so it looks
Oh,
kind
that's
of
nice.
nice. I'm not entirely sure what the purpose of this is, but it also has an additional like tray that you can sit it in that just makes it a little bigger.
Isn't that
I guess like gives it a place on your desk. It
for
doesn't
travel or something, cover it up.
I don't know. It doesn't really like cover it up if you put it the other way around. It's just like a little tray to sit your keyboard in, I suppose.
It's a crumb tray.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
The gimmick on it is that, well, it doesn't have volume buttons or like media playback buttons or stuff like that.
That's annoying.
The gimmick to replace it though is that they have a button here that lets you pick a function, and then they have like a little touch sensitive slider. So
interesting.
Right now it's on volume.
It's a camera control.
So I can slide my finger on this to turn the volume up, or slide it down.
And how well
to
does that
turn it
work?
down.
It seems like it's pretty clumsy.
Doesn't look very convenient at all. It's on the back of the thing.
Yeah, it should have been on the side.
Yeah, but you know, it's neat.
Does it work very well, like the slide control?
It does.
It's
It does
accurate,
pretty well.
not clumsy.
Yeah, like slide your finger like edge to edge, and it'll turn it all the way up or all the way down.
Okay. I mean, what about in
Yeah.
the middle of all the way up or all the way down?
Well, I'll touch it. Oh, what do you look at that? It's in the middle.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, that looks really cool, man. So for those of you listening, you're asking me Logitech in the chat. No, this is Asus. This is Asus ROG Falcon. You know, people call it Asus.
It says Republic of Gamers on the front
that's a
of it.
popular
So,
gaming brand that they have. People
rise-
call them
rise up,
Asus, but it's
gamers.
short for Pegasus. So that would be like saying Peg Asus. But it's, I mean, Peg Asus, right? So I think people pronounce their name wrong.
Everybody has their own way that they pronounce. I always thought it was Asus, and then I heard somebody say Asus.
I hear people say Asus all the time, but I also hear people say Steve Jobs. So I'm like, okay, well, we clearly can't go by their pronunciation because some people don't know how to speak. But
Yeah.
I mean, I do believe it is short for Pegasus. Like that used to be their full name, and then they just shortened it to Asus, and then people started saying Asus for some reason. They probably don't care.
I think it's like $130 on Amazon. It's if you need a quiet mechanical keyboard, it's a legitimately nice option. But I think it's ugly, so I only use it once a week.
Ah, man, I love
You
RGB. I love
it's-
RGB.
It's called a Falchion.
Falcon.
Falcon.
Falchion. I looked that up. You know what that is?
What?
Because I never saw that word before. I love to learn new words. A falchion, this is according to Wikipedia, is a one-handed, single-edged, 37 to 40-inch sword of European origin.
Ah,
Found in
cool.
different forms from around the 13th century up to and including the 16th century.
Wow. I never
What
would
do
have
you
guessed
know?
that. I thought it was like
I
a cool
thought
way
it-
to spell falcon
I know. I thought it was a typo at first or something.
or a bird of some kind.
Falchion.
A falchion. It's a
Falchion.
medieval European
Let me
sword.
just get my falchion. We'll take care of this.
I keep mine with me at all times. That's your mistake. All right, cool. Well, we'll include a link to the show notes or in the show notes for this beautiful RGB keyboard that Griffin doesn't like the RGB of, but I do. I love it, man. RGB everything. And with that,
I'll mail it to you if you mail me back your AirPods Max that you never use.
that
do
seems
an
like
exchange.
seems like a bad trade on my part. A
They're
really
lightning.
bad,
They're
a really
lightning.
bad trade.
They're lightning.
All right. Well, with that said, let's go ahead and cue the music. That's it, my friends. That's all the CultCast we have for you guys this week. But you know what? If you join us in the Cult Club, support.cultcast.com, you might actually get to stay in the Cult Club. Whereas before, we couldn't be sure because people kept getting booted out. But we think we solved that problem. So you could come hang out with us there. Support.thecultcast.com. Cult of 9 to 5 MacRumors.com. This has been the CultCast, the best 30+ minute Apple conversation you're going to hear all week long. New episodes of the CultCast come out every Thursday night. I want to thank everyone for listening, for hanging out live, and we will see you guys next time. I figured I'd do it short this time. Why draw it out? Usually I make it like 5-10 seconds long. Just get it over with. And now we have to just sit here awkwardly listen to music. It's like Lewis in his
Music's so
relaxation
loud. I
zone.
can never hear anything anyway. It's like,
What?
hey, what?
What'd you say? All right, everyone. If they make a new face for that iPad on a robotic arm, I hope it's Tim Cook's face. I'd pay extra for that. Yeah.
You know what they're going to have to do? They're going to have to make that a detachable iPad. It should have like
That might be
a
it.
version of MagSafe Max that holds the thing. And you can just
MagSafe
pop it off and,
That's a great idea. All right, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and just cut it short then. Have a great weekend.